John D. Rockefeller. Was he a bad person? Was John D. Rockefeller a brilliant tycoon or a ruthless monopolist? Today, we'll dive deep into the life of one of the most controversial figures in American history. Brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, as we unravel the gripping tale of power, ambition, and wealth on the life of John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller, the name that echoes through the corridors of time, igniting debates and dividing opinions. Was he a magnate of progress, an industrial genius who reshaped the world, or a ruthless titan who trampled upon the dreams of countless others? Only one way to find out. Talking about the figure of John Davidson Rockefeller seems endless, especially for conspiracy theorists. His name is always referred to as the one who controls the world. However, many know him as a hard worker who amassed an abundant fortune from his business octopus. John D. Rockefeller is known to be cruel when looking at something, but on the other hand, the man who was born July 8, 1839 in Richford, New York, was a lot of charity at the end of his age. Rockefeller was born from a simple family. His father was a traveling merchant. Little Rockefeller helped raise money to support the life of his family. He sold sweets, raised turkeys, and also worked part-time at a neighboring village. In 1853, the Rockefeller family moved to the Cleveland, Ohio area. There, he received his education as an accountant at a private college. Entering 1855, Rockefeller got a job as a clerk at a company, Hewitt and Tuttle, which was engaged in shipping goods. 4 years later, in 1859 to be precise, he quit his job and started a business with his co-workers. They tried their luck as traders of straw, meat, grain, and other goods. Profits at that time reached $450,000. This success made them try out the booming oil industry at that time. Together with his partner, Rockefeller invested in the Cleveland refinery. Not only that, he also bought small companies to develop his oil company. The well-established young Rockefeller married Laura Celestia Spellman in 1864. Laura was the daughter of a politician and construction entrepreneur. From this marriage, they were blessed with 5 children. In 1865, Rockefeller borrowed money from the bank to buy several companies owned by his business partners and take control of a top oil refinery in Cleveland. In Rockefeller's hands, the refinery was developed into the largest refinery at that time. The petroleum business at that time became the staple of the economy and made Rockefeller even richer. He later widened his grip in the oil business. John D. Rockefeller, with his brother William A. Rockefeller and his business partners Henry Flagler, Jabez A. Bostwick, Samuel Andrews, and Stephen V. Harkness, founded the Standard Oil Company of Ohio in 1870 with John D. Rockefeller as the largest shareholder. Thanks to the shrewdness of the lobby and its closeness to politicians, Standard Oil acquired a monopoly in the oil industry. 12 years later, in 1882, the various Rockefeller companies that were purchased were merged into one company under the umbrella of the Standard Oil Trust. Of this large company, he controlled 90% of the oil refineries and national oil pipelines. When it comes to exploiting oil, Standard Oil did a number of things, from building its own barrels of oil to employing scientists to finding out potential lands that contain petroleum. Rockefeller used unfair tactics to eliminate competition and control oil prices, leading to antitrust investigations and legal actions against the company. Rockefeller was also known for exploiting workers and subjecting them to harsh working conditions, long hours, and low wages, and his undue influence distorted fair competition and favored his business interests at the expense of others. What's worse, one of the most notorious incidents linked to Rockefeller was the Ludlow Massacre of 1914. During a labor strike at a Colorado coal mine owned by Rockefeller, the Colorado National Guard attacked a tent colony of striking workers, resulting in numerous deaths including women and children. It was all because of Rockefeller's ignorance and unconcern about labor rights and worker safety. It didn't stop there. The company's refining processes generated pollution and waste, contributing to environmental degradation in various areas where they operated and causing harm to workers. The practice of monopoly and massive oil exploitation by Rockefeller was disturbed when Ida Tarbell exposed the cunning of the Standard Oil Company in running its business. Ida Tarbell is a writer, lecturer, investigative journalist, and the daughter of a businessman who was a victim of Rockefeller. In his book, The History of the Standard Oil Company, published from 1902 to 1904, he explained how Rockefeller made his father bankrupt and his colleagues commit suicide. In writing his book, Tarbell interviewed dozens of Standard Oil employees, visited the Standard Oil office, interviewed Standard Oil's representative, Henry Rogers, and visited a church that Rockefeller often visited. Tarbell managed to collect 300 sources' testimonies, so detailed in the description he was accused of spying for a rival company that would destroy Standard Oil. Tarbell exposed the business practices of the Rockefeller Company, from Standard Oil's role in supplying oil to soldiers in the Civil War, employing government intelligence, obtaining special tariffs for transportation to transport oil, to threatening its competitors to join the Standard Oil monopoly game. In his words, if a company refuses to join, it is certain that that company will be destroyed. In 1903, when Tarbell was uncovering the Standard Oil scandal, he saw Rockefeller sitting at a church service. It's sad that anyone who sees John Rockefeller sitting in a church service will feel he's the saddest object in the world, wrote Tarbell. Even after receiving harsh criticism from Ida Tarbell and through his book, Rockefeller did not deny it. That didn't stop Rockefeller's growth though. On September 29, 1916, all newspapers in the United States ran news about John D. Rockefeller, who had crossed the magic barrier. His status rose from a millionaire to becoming the first billionaire recorded in history. This trigger caused the major increase in the share price of the Standard Oil Company. Rockefeller's 247,692 shares at that time were worth nearly $499 million. This fantastic value, combined with his holdings in a number of banks, railroad companies, as well as national, state, and city bonds, made his fortune increase the more. Since 1916, Rockefeller has been dubbed the first and only billionaire in the United States over a long period of time. As Rockefeller has an increased fortune, his extraordinary success often made him a target for journalists and politicians. They saw this king of oil as a symbol of greed. To erase that bad image, Rockefeller gave most of his fortune to charity. He also always gave new coins to the little children who were nearby. Rockefeller's generosity can be seen from the many institutions that work in the fields of social, education, religion, art, and health. This transformation of Rockefeller into a philanthropist enhanced his family's image in society as a generous family. Rockefeller founded a charitable foundation in 1901, which he named the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research. While his philanthropic efforts were significant, some critics argued that his charitable donations were used to improve his public image and offset the negative perception of his business practices. However, that didn't still stop him from being called the cruelest, brazen, merciless, and gripping monopoly that has ever bound a country. This was also due to the fact that Standard Oil was notorious for selling kerosene to get local competitors out of the business. To destroy its competitors, Rockefeller would run tank cars and trains carrying its competitors' oil short of fuel. Then he will buy all the barrels on the market so that its competitors have nowhere to store or ship their oil. Rockefeller also purchased all the chemicals needed to purify the oil. In this way, Standard Oil's vast empire included 20,000 domestic wells, 4,000 miles of pipeline, 5,000 tankers, and more than 100,000 employees. After all, Rockefeller's influence in the oil business is still visible today. Even though Standard Oil was eventually forced to dissolve by the United States government, its subsidiaries are still standing tall today, such as Exxon, ConocoPhillips, and Chevron. John David Rockefeller, founder of Standard Oil, is the richest man who ever lived. His wealth is recorded not only in American history, but in world history. In 1937, John Davidson Rockefeller suddenly died at the age of 98. He was found dead, alone, without his family or loved ones with him. And there you have it, guys, the captivating saga of John D. Rockefeller, a man whose legacy still echoes today. Whether he was a villain or a visionary, the impact of his actions cannot be denied. Remember, history is often complex and filled with shades of gray. Until then, never stop questioning, never stop exploring, and never stop seeking the truth. See you in our next video.